All right, so lately we have been talking a lot about insecurities.
It keeps us up at night, for sure.
It's true. And if you're new to our story, Shaye came out to me as transgender 5 years ago, and she transitioned last year. And is it fair to say transition has unlocked new insecurities?
It's so hard to transition later in life and work through how you want to express yourself. It's obviously amazing to be able to have this experience, but at the same time, it's been hard to work on the things I want to, just because I have such hard old habits to break. So
Yeah. And it's been interesting for me to watch it's unlocked fears that seem like really familiar to me. And I think showing up feminine in the world, you're held to a lot higher standard, and it's just challenging. There's all kinds of different things, from how you dress to your posture to your, there's so many things.
Okay, so my biggest insecurity has been my voice by far. I think we've talked about it a little bit on here, but I think so much so that I would say making TikToks and Instagram Reels has been so much easier for me, just because I can control it through music and just putting text on there to tell our story. But talking has always been something I've dreaded, just because it's something that I don't know, it's just hard. It's so hard when you've developed these speaking patterns and then to try to shift them.
Yeah.
And what's interesting for me is I used to be teased all the time as a kid in elementary about people saying that I was gay. And so I made a really constant effort to not show any of that. And so it's kind of interesting just how you develop speaking patterns. And anyway, so
yeah. So you didn't want to show any femininity.
No.
Yeah.
No way. And so when people stopped saying things like that, I still wondered what they were thinking about me, because being queer, growing up in the 90s and 2000s, where we live in Utah, that was not okay. So
yeah, it seems like earlier in your transition, you did facial feminization surgery, and there was kind of the initial steps, but it seems like since you've gone through all that, your voice has really become top of mind, mostly because when we go out and talk to people, that's something that comes to your awareness, right?
Yeah, it's easy when you're at home not to worry about it, just because you're with your kids. And I mean, I think what's funny is my voice has definitely changed.
Oh yeah.
Not even consciously, I didn't realize how much. But yeah, that's the hardest thing, is when I'm in public. It's hard to. Someone asks me a question, it's more challenging. So
yeah, it's so interesting because I think one's manner of speaking, it's so closely tied with our identity. And it's really interesting looking back at videos of me when I was a young adult, like a teenager. I talked like this all the time. I always talked up here. And I remember when I was older and I started my professional career, I had to remind myself that I could talk in my chest voice, and I could, because there's a difference when you're talking like this and you're kind of asking questions all the time versus relaxing. And anyway, that's really different than what you're going through. But I can relate in a small way, because it was I had to so consciously not go into this high, timid voice, and command this lower voice.
Yeah, we changed how we talk. It's funny, if you look at old videos of people, it's funny how we changed through generations.
Oh yeah. The transatlantic accent, I would love to have that.
Thanks to Crafty for sponsoring this video. Crafty is your online resource for all things creative. They have over 2,000 courses in 20 different categories, and they are adding new classes all the time. And you guys, I've taken some classes already, and there are so many others that I want to try. They have beginning classes for if you're just getting started, and they have advanced classes for if you're wanting to really hone in on a specific skill. My 11-year-old has just been learning how to crochet, so their beginning crochet class has been perfect for her. I'm an avid knitter, but I make a lot of mistakes when I knit, and so I just took their Fixing Knitting Mistakes class, and it had so many helpful tools. I'm also taking their Simply Stunning Colorwork class because I'm still learning how to do the stranded mosaic knitting. It is so convenient to have all of these expert tips in these beautifully produced classes. Next, I want to take their bread making class, their pastry making class, and the list goes on. The first 1,000 of our subscribers to click the link in our video description box will get a full year of premium Crafty membership for only $1.49. Thanks, Crafty.
So you've been working on your voice, but look, what's that process like? If someone wants to feminize their voice, because it's probably a new thing for a lot of people, like, what do you do?
So I have been working with a coach with my voice, and she has been amazing. My biggest issue has just been being consistent with it. So, and I've been doing it for how long? Like
A couple months.
couple months,
Yeah.
on and off. Though there's been a few times where we've been out of town, so. But I've been working with her, and she's been helping me like recognize the difference between pitch and resonance. And a lot of people don't realize that so much of voice training is actually more resonance than it actually is pitch. And so I can talk high, I can talk higher, but then my resonance doesn't sound good. So I'm just trying to find an area where I feel comfortable and starting from there. So
Yeah.
and I recognize it's something I don't have to do. Like that doesn't make you any more or less valid as a trans person. But for me, early on in life, like that was a huge thing for me. Like going through puberty, going through a male puberty was seriously one of the hardest things I ever did. And I remember as a little kid actually recording my voice so that I could kind of hold on to how it sounded because I was worried about it dropping at some point. So I need to find that. It's like on a computer in the trash can somewhere, at my parents' house.
Well, and I've learned so much about the voice because I took voice lessons all growing up, but singing is so different and it's like contained in a song. It's like not at all the same. Where if you went through like a testosterone puberty, it actually affects your vocal tract. And so you have to kind of train the vocal tract to be smaller. And it's incredible how many different elements there are to the voice, like the speaking voice, and how you're really speaking on a pitch all the time. There's things I never like thought about before.
Yeah, a lot of people think it's that you're manipulating your voice, but in reality, it's just learning how to use different parts of your voice. My voice has been trained to speak in a lower pitch and resonance, but there's a lot of range there that people don't realize.
Yeah. So you've been going through vocal training, but don't a lot of trans people get vocal surgeries?
Yeah, so I don't know if a lot do. It's probably not that many, but there is a surgery out there that will help you with your pitch. It doesn't fix the resonance, so even when they do that, they still tell you to voice training.
Yeah.
But the whole premise behind that is it's just one less thing you have to worry about. So you notice as I'm talking, even now, like I'll start to scoop down and like come back up. It's so hard, and just be public with this. Like honestly, guys, we'd probably make more videos if I could get over this, but I'm just trying to be patient with myself. And
Yeah.
but yeah, now you know that's my biggest insecurity at the moment. But then when I check that off, then I'll find something else like that I need 3 pairs of variants. So.
Yeah, that's life, right? You spend your mental energy, feeding one insecurity, and then when you're not thinking about that one, you're thinking about a different one. It's just so fun being human. Well, and that's another thing I'd never really thought that much about because it's hard to be well-spoken just like in general, right? Like, oh, how do I want to say that? And I'm like a word person, so I'm always caught up with that. But then there's like many layers to what you're experiencing, which is, okay, there's like these 6 things I want to do with my voice and I have to think about what I want to say. Like, it's a lot. But I'm glad you're giving yourself grace because everybody's a work in progress. Like nothing like this happens overnight. Right?
It's definitely just work and just being consistent. Like Amanda gets after me sometimes just because I fall into my old habits with it.
Yeah, sometimes I'll willfully like it's playful, so I don't want you to think it's like mean. But I'll be like, "What? I can't hear you," and then she'll remember to practice her resonance. Because I think it's stuff like this is like there's so many challenging things about being trans in general, right? It's not like this is the only thing that's preoccupying your thoughts. And so it's hard when there's something process oriented that takes so much effort and time, right? Something that's also so interesting about transition is finding like where your authentic place to be is. And so I've noticed a lot of times you want it to come off as natural and for people not to think, oh, like Shaye's trying to talk in a high voice. Like, so that's been your concern. Because you know that feeling when you're like, you're trying something new and you feel dumb. You're like, this is ridiculous. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. That's kind of how you feel sometimes, right?
Yeah, I've had to reframe it as thinking there is my default voice rather than like what my voice should be, because my default voice is what I trained my voice to use, but that doesn't mean that's my voice. Like that's the voice. So anyway, it's just changing my mindsets help with that.
Well, and it was interesting, like in Shaye's voice therapy, because sometimes it felt like therapy, like listening in on those calls, because there's so much with voice that's really about like self-permission, right? And like allowing your self-expression, even if other people, however they react to it. And so it's brought up a lot for you.
Yeah, it definitely did. It helped me to realize that I had a lot of insecurities that I wasn't aware of that go back to my childhood, of course. And so, yeah, it's interesting. And I think one of the big things that I'm trying to decide right now is we found out that our insurance might cover the voice surgery that they offer. So I'm kind of hard on myself. And then I remember, like, we've only been doing this for 14 months, you know, the whole social aspect of my transition. So, but anyway, there's so much more to life than that too. It's like there's so many other things that we're focusing on as being parents. And yeah, I guess the question is, what is my biggest insecurity? And that's what it is right now.
And it's such a hard balance, I think, just like that balance of like self-acceptance versus also like, if there's something I can do about this thing that really bothers me, like life is short and I should do what I can to like help myself progress, you know? So those are tricky things to weigh.
So I think it's only fair that we ask Amanda what her biggest insecurity is right now.
It's hard to pick just one. I would say for me, the work I constantly have to do is self-love and like unprogramming a lot of the harmful like body image ideas that I have and learning to care for myself instead of like what size something is or like how, you know, I might see a picture of myself and go, oh, excellent. I don't know, shame just gets really tiresome after a while. And you're like, no, like I have this one precious life and I'm never going to be perfect. It's like not a real thing. So yeah.
I totally thought she was going to say her voice. Yeah, it's funny to hear you talk about body image because I feel like that's something that I can relate to from a whole new perspective that I didn't have before.
Yeah.
There's so many things that I feel like society puts on women as far as what it means to be a woman enough, right?
How to do it right.
Yeah. And so it's like I'm experiencing that now later in life. I'm like, dang it, why did I have to go through this now? But it's something I get to experience now, and I have a whole new appreciation for all your insecurities that you have as well. And which, of course, I look at it and go, it's fine, but, you know.
Yeah, we're always the hardest on ourselves. And it's annoying how a part of you can know it's BS, and then another part of you just, like, still is worried about it.
Right.
I hate that.
Life is funny.
Yeah.
So, yeah, now you know.
Good talk.
Yeah.
Good talk, you guys.
Well, thanks for hanging out with us, and we'll see you next time.
Love you guys.
Right.
Bye.